So in today's class, we are going to discuss all these terms which are visible on this white screen. Bacterial genome is nucleoid region as well as the plasmids which bacterial cells have. A normal bacterial cell, for example, E. coli may have up to 7 different type of plasmids in the same cell. Now this is the question, how different type of plasmids can be present in a single bacterial cell which is very small in size. The thing is actually the compatibility. If the plasmids are compatible, they can be present in the same cell, and actually the number vary between different type of microbes or bacteria, how many plasmids a single bacterial cell can have. So it always depends upon the compatibility between these plasmids which these bacterial cells have. So also one important term, episome. So we will discuss episome though in detail, but because I have written it here. So episome is if a plasmid is somehow integrated into the nucleoid region or the main chromosome of the bacterial cell, this is called episome. And it may happen that the plasmid will be, when the bacterial cell divide, so the plasmid along with bacterial chromosome, main chromosome which is present in the nucleoid region, can be transferred to the daughter cells. Now, what are the applications of these plasmids? Why we need to study these plasmids in so much details? Because they are important in cloning purposes. So whenever we need to clone we need some cloning vectors. So these plasmids can be used as cloning vectors because they have these selectable markers. For example, plasmids which are having uh, these are some drugs, for example, ampicillin, tetracycline. So some of the bacteria are very resistant to these drugs. So because they are having genes which make them resistant to these specific antibiotics. Okay, so for example, these R plasmids, resistant plasmids are having some of the genes which are helping bacteria in survival when the bacterial cells are treated with some of the antibiotic. So they are used as selectable markers. Now, the two things are very important whenever we want to discuss plasmids. One is copy number, and second thing is, okay, so first of all, depending upon copy number, bacteria can be divided into two main groups. One is called stringent plasmid, second are called relaxed plasmid. Relaxed in the sense they can be present in very high copy number, means up to 50 per cell. Stringent means they are large in size, therefore the copy number is less. Generally the bacterial cell have 1 to 2 plasmids copies per bacterial cell. Now you need to note this point, that this copy number is completely different from the compatibility. Copy number is used for the same type of plasmid. Okay, whereas the compatibility is something related to different type of plasmids which are present in a single bacterial cell. So both are different. Now conjugation and these terms, for example, curing, what is, first of all, what is conjugation and what is conjugating plasmid? So the bacteria may have two type of plasmid. One which can be transferred from one bacterial cell into the another bacterial cell are called conjugating, means they are having some genes, for example, TRA genes, which help them transfer, which help these plasmids in the transfer from one bacterial cell into the another bacterial cell. How exactly this will happen? So these TRA genes will help in the transfer by making a structure called pilus. So through these pilus structures, or so these are hollow structures through which the bacterial plasmid can be transferred from donor to the recipient bacteria. Now there is another term, curing. Curing is something, suppose the bacteria is going to divide, and generally what happened, this term is called partitioning. So during partitioning, bacterial cell, which is the mother cell, because from the mother cell two daughter cells are going to derive. So it is the responsibility of the mother cell that it will give equal number of plasmids to both the daughter cells. But sometimes what happen, because same bacterial cell have different kinds of or types of plasmids, and it may happen that one of the daughter cell out of two is lost one plasmid or two, and so on. So this loss of plasmid from the transfer loss or whatever you call it during division is called curing. Curing is the loss of plasmid when bacteria divide. So the daughter cell is unable to receive the bacterial plasmid, a copy of that. Then we will discuss different type of plasmids. So depending upon their characteristics, depending upon their features, plasmids can be divided into F plasmid because they are helping in fertility or the transfer of genes from one bacterial cell into the another. So they are called fertility plasmid. R for resistant plasmid, Col plasmid, Toll plasmids. These are degradative plasmids, mean they are helping bacteria in degradation of certain substances which are generally cannot be degraded so easily. And there are some virulence plasmid. For example, we know in Agrobacterium tumefaciens. So we will discuss them all in details. Along with these five, generally you will find these five in, so I have taken this text from T. Brown, but there are another type of plasmids are also found in bacteria which are called killer plasmids. So if these are present in some bacterial cell, they will not allow other bacteria to grow in nearby locations or nearby to that particular bacteria, because they will kill the other bacterial strains. So these are called killer plasmids. So depending upon the type of bacterial plasmid which are present in a bacterial cell, they will give different type of benefits to the bacterial cell, allow them survive in certain circumstances. For example, if the bacterial culture is treated with some kind of antibiotic, or normally environment may have heavy metals, for example, mercury. So these plasmids, which are actually called resistant plasmids, for example, help bacteria to survive in these unfavorable conditions. Okay, so there is one another term, cryptic plasmid, which is given in your Pathfinder also. So cryptic plasmid is something. So we have discussed all these plasmids. So I, in the initial, when we start the class, I told you that the 7 different type of plasmids may be present in one bacterial cell. So actually we have discussed 5 and killer plasmids 6. Actually there are another category that is called cryptic plasmids, are those actually to which we actually do not know what are their functions. Okay, but they are found to be present in bacterial cells. So a plasmid that confer no identified function or phenotypic property to that particular bacterial cell or that organism is known as cryptic plasmid. There are certain type of complexes, for example, called a relaxosome form when these plasmids are transferred from one bacterial cell into the another, means from donor to recipient. So we will discuss them during conjugative and conjugative plasmids. So the conjugative plasmids are those which can transfer from one bacterial cell into another bacterial cell. Now this is another important point. What is host range? So host range is for example, one plasmid, for example, R plasmid or F plasmid or any one you take, for example, this Vir plasmid. Virulence plasmids are known to be found in some of the only limited group of bacteria. For example, Ti plasmid. Ti is present in Agrobacterium tumefaciens. So one plasmid is generally found in limited number of closely related bacterial cells. So if it is present in closely related bacteria, then the plasmid is said to found in narrow host range. So it is having narrow range. But if a plasmid is found in n number of hosts or in bacteria, then this is said to be a broad host range plasmid. So depending upon its abundance, a plasmid can be narrow range or a a broad host range. But generally, most of the plasmids are having narrow host ranges. Broad host range of the plasmid is generally not known, and this is not known even why the most of the plasmids are not found in all the bacteria. So why they are not having a broad host range, this is completely unknown. This is something beyond our knowledge. Okay, so first of all, so this is a bacterial cell, normal bacteria. You can say this is E. coli because this is having the shape like E. coli, broad shape. Now this bacteria is having something called the main chromosome of bacteria, that is called nucleoid region, in which most of the chromosome, which is having the genes for metabolism and survival of that particular bacteria, are present. So this is bacterial chromosome. And the region in which this is present is called nucleoid region. As we know, in bacteria, there is no limiting membrane or the nuclear membrane. Therefore, the shape of nucleoid is completely random in different type of bacteria. It may vary from bacteria to bacteria. Then there are plasmids. So these plasmids may be of different type or of the same type. So if they are same type, they are called copy number of that particular plasmid. And if they are of different type, then they are said to be compatible because they are present within the same bacterial cell. Here is one plasmid, for example, is given as an example. So for example, RP4, this is this is the plasmid which is having three different antibiotic resistant genes. So it is having ampicillin resistance, tetracycline resistance, and kanamycin resistant genes for the single plasmid. So this is a kind of R plasmid, R for resistance, because if this plasmid is present in this bacterial cell, it will give this particular bacterial cell this advantage that it can survive if the media containing either of these three antibiotics or their combination. So ampicillin resistance, tetracycline, and kanamycin, if it is given in the culture, so bacteria is able to survive these antibiotics because it is having resistant genes. So it will degrade those antibiotics, and even in very high concentration, they are able to survive. So, okay. So first of all, before going into the details, let me tell you what else we are going to cover in this particular class. So because we are covering from the Pathfinder, so the topic is given over page number 436 in your microbiology chapter. Bacterial chromosome is the main point which we are going to disclose. So the bacterial chromosome is generally circular, mostly double-stranded DNA molecule. So as you can see from here also, so generally this is circular chromosome. It is joined somewhere and it is double-stranded in nature. Like, so here is another diagram actually I'm searching. So see this, for example. This is a lysed bacterial cell, so the chromosome, chromatin material, whatever you call it, nucleoid region or the DNA will come out. If you stain a bacterial cell, so this is dividing bacteria, but not fully divided. So what you can see, these are two bacterial cells which are not separated, but they are going to separate somehow. So they will make individual bacterial cells. Now you can see they are haploid because they are both the cells are deriving from the same bacteria. So generally the eukaryotes, for example, humans are diploid in nature because we are having two sets of chromosome coming from each of our parents, from mother and father. This bacteria is having only one parent, therefore they are having only one set of this genome. So they are haploid. You can see this stained region, and this is nucleoid. So you cannot say the nucleoid is always like this. It can have different shapes depending upon one bacterial cell to another or the type of species. And the third thing is the amount of DNA which is present in the nucleoid region. So this is the main chromosome. This is called bacterial chromosome. But beside this bacterial chromosome, this bacteria is also having certain plasmids, which are also part of bacterial genome because they are found inside the bacterial cells and they will give some kind of advantage to the bacteria. Now the question is, because the bacteria is having two type of genome, the mean bacterial genome, and second is the plasmid, and the different type of plasmids which can be found in the same bacterial cell. Now the question is, this bacterial genome or the bacterial chromosome, actually bacterial genome is made up of bacterial chromosome and plasmids. So this bacterial chromosome and plasmids, are they having the same machinery which help in their replication and the protein synthesis and so on, or they are means independent? So plasmids are independently able to replicate. They do not share the origin of replication of the bacterial chromosome. They are very independent. Okay, so they exist independently and they can replicate themselves without the aid of these bacterial chromosome. So this is the first thing. So as I told you, these plasmids can be used as cloning vectors. So here it is given the cloning vectors also need to be relatively small. Generally, the small plasmids are generally chosen as cloning vectors, which are having less than 10 kb size flow base pairs. Why so? Because if you take the large plasmids, there is a problem. They can break during their purification, and also they are very difficult to manipulate because they are having large size. So generally, the plasmids which are having small size are generally used as cloning vectors. Now, how you are going to select which plasmid can be chosen as cloning vector? So the size is generally available. You can find their size from somewhere, means in the literature it is reported for most of the plasmids. They are having some molecular mass, and this molecular mass can be calculated from their length and flow base pairs. So if you multiply this flow base pair with 650 Dalton, because this is the mass of single base pair, so ultimately you will get this molecular mass of that particular plasmid. So generally less than 10 will be best choices which can be used for or used as cloning vector. In today's class, we are not going to discuss in detail the cloning vectors because this is the part of recombination DNA technology, RDT, genetic engineering. But here, because we are dealing with microbiology, so you should know that these can have these applications, but for details the details you will study in genetic engineering class. So for now, one term I told you, episome. So there are two type of cells. In one cell, these plasmids and bacterial chromosome, as I told you, are generally present independently, means the plasmid are having origin of replication, so they are very independently present and they can replicate themselves without any assistance from the bacterial chromosome. But there are some cases reported in which this bacterial chromosome can make this plasmid can be integrated into the bacterial chromosome, as can be seen here, and this bacterial cell is then called episome. So if the bacterial chromosome carrying the integrated plasmid, what will happen when this bacterial cell divide during the cell division? Each daughter cell will have the same copy as coming from the parent. So now you can assume that in evolution, this can happen several times, that certain plasmids which are present in means that different other type of plasmids which may be present at certain time independently are today integrated into the bacterial chromosome, and they are present like this only. But this is not happening like this always. Sometimes what will happen, So it can happen that 2 or more divisions can happen, and during each cell division, the daughter cell will have this episome in this form only, means the chromosome is integrated with plasmid. But this is not always. Uh, Sometimes this will reverse back. So this plasmid will cut itself from the bacterial chromosome and then again forming this plasmid. But again, question mark, because when this will happen, so it may happen that this plasmid either may lost some of the genes to the bacterial chromosome, or some of the genes from the bacterial chromosome may come into the plasmid when this plasmid is restored back. So always there is a exchange of genes between bacterial chromosome and plasmid, and this is this is happening in evolution many times. Okay, so we had discussed this already. One thing actually which I left from this discussion. So plasmids having this general definition. Plasmids are circular molecules of DNA that lead to an independent existence. Mostly if they are present independently, they are called plasmids. If they are integrated, they are called episomes. Okay, so there is a difference in nomenclature. So plasmids are always independent, are having independent existence in bacterial cells. Plasmids almost always carry one or more genes, and often these genes are responsible for useful characteristics which are displayed by the host bacterium. So they will provide some kind of benefit to the bacterial cell, so that bacteria is harboring them inside cytoplasm. For example, some of them are given, for example, ability to survive in normally toxic concentration of some of the antibiotic like ampicillin, tetracycline, kanamycin, chloramphenicol, and so on. Often due to the presence of the bacterium which are having the plasmid carrying the antibiotic resistant genes, so they will make some proteins, and these proteins will ultimately degrade these antibiotics. So overall, these plasmids are helping the bacteria to survive in these toxic concentration of some of the antibiotics. Now, how this is going to happen? So these genes which are present inside the plasmid may be used as selectable markers to ensure the bacteria in the culture when we grow the bacteria in culture. So these antibiotic resistant genes are generally used as selectable markers to select the bacteria of interest during cloning, for example. Now, most of the plasmids possess at least DNA sequence that can act as an origin of replication. So why the plasmid is present independently inside the bacterial cell? Because these plasmids are having origin of replication. So they are able to multiply within the cell independently of main bacterial chromosome. Okay. Integrated plasmids or episomes may be stably maintained in this form through numerous cell divisions, but always at some stage they are exist as an independent element or plasmid. So now I hope this is clear to you. What are episomes? So episomes are integrated plasmids inside the bacterial chromosome. So this book is, sorry, I forgot to tell, this is T.A. Brown. So it is also written here, if you are able to see this. Page number 13 onwards, this is given. We are not going to discuss all the details which are given in this chapter, because this book is completely different perspective. So actually this is a genetic engineering book, and why only because I want to show some of the diagrams and some important terms which need to be understood for the sake of microbiology. Okay, so we are referring this particular book. Now, size and copy number, as we know, because if the cloning is concerned, the two terms are very important. One is copy number, and second is size of that particular plasmid. As I told you, the size should be less than 10 kb for an appropriate vector. And copy number is actually, if it is having very less copy number, so there is a chance that plasmid would be lost If it is having very high copy number, means it is kind of relaxed plasmid. So it will have very high copy number. So this is also not necessary. Generally, the plasmids which are having high copy number are selected for cloning because there is a chance of loss of plasmid if you choose a stringent plasmid, because stringent plasmids, first of all, they are large in size. So there is problem of their breakage during the purification process. And second thing is because stringent plasmids are present in only 1 to 2 copies per cell. Therefore, there is a chance that they can be lost. They can, the curing can happen in the case for stringent plasmids. I hope you remember stringent and relaxed plasmids. So stringent plasmids are those which are present in less copy number. Relaxed plasmids are relaxed because they are do not having this fear of lost, because they are present in very high copy number, up to 50 plasmids per bacterial cell of the same type. It is given here also. Some plasmids, especially the larger ones, are called stringent. Actually, they are large in size but have a low copy number. You need to remember this. Perhaps just 1 or 2 plasmids per cell. Then there is second category called relaxed plasmids, which are present multiple copies of 50 or more per cell. So they are relaxed. Now this diagram is also important since it is showing that a pilus is being formed between a tube, which is called pilus, is formed between a donor cell and a recipient cell. Now what is the difference between the two cells? Only difference is this cell is having this F plasmid, this cell is not having this F plasmid. So now what is so special about this F plasmid? F for fertility plasmid. So this cell will have this plasmid. So this plasmid will encode certain proteins which are from the transfer TRA genes, and they will make transfer proteins. So these transfer proteins are assembled over the bacterial cell or over the donor cell. So they will make this tube-like structure. Ultimately, what will happen when they will come in close proximity with some recipient cell which do not have this fertility plasmid, they will be fused through this plasma membrane, and ultimately the transfer of plasmid, ultimately this will replicate and a copy will be transferred to the recipient cell. Now after transfer, the recipient cell, which is actually negative first, so let me annotate this so that you are able to so donor cell is positive because it is having this okay, so and this is negative because this do not have this F plasmid. But what will happen at the end when the transfer is complete? So this will be positive, this will be positive. We will discuss these transfers, HFR plasmid formation and all in detail. So don't worry, we will discuss them in detail in upcoming classes. So for now, because this R plasmid is present in the donor cell, so it will help in formation of this transfer tube, pilus. So the copy of F plasmid will be transferred to the recipient cell, and ultimately the recipient cell will also become positive, or it will also become donor. Then it will donate the plasmid to some other bacteria which is recipient in nature. Okay, so there are two other terms. One is conjugative, second is non-conjugative. Very easy to understand because conjugative plasmid, if they're making a conjugation tube or this pilus through which the transfer is being taking place, the bacterial cell is called conjugative, and if it is not able to make the conjugation tube, they are non-conjugative. Conjugative plasmids are characteristic by ability of promoting this sexual conjugation between bacterial cells, and process that can result in a conjugated plasmid spreading from one cell to all of the other cells in the bacterial culture. So it can happen in a bacterial culture. All cells which are recipient or negative in nature may become donor at the end when you grow the culture. So conjugation and plasmid transfer are controlled by a set of genes. These are called TRA genes. TRA for transfer. because these transfer genes are responsible, or the transgenes for short, are responsible for encoding the proteins, transfer proteins, which will make this conjugation tube. So they will promote this sexual conjugation. Whereas these transgenes or the plasmid, F plasmid, are absent from the non-conjugative types of bacteria. So depending upon whether the transgenes are present in the bacterial cell or they're absent, bacteria can be conjugative or non-conjugative. Second thing, several different kind of plasmid may be found in the single cell. It can also happen. So this is called compatibility. So the bacterial cell is said to be compatible if it is having more than one type of plasmid at once. So for example, E. coli can have up to 7 different plasmids at once to be able to coexist in the same cell. Different plasmid must be compatible with each other. If the two plasmids are not compatible, means they are incompatible, then what can happen? So they will rapidly lost from the cell. I want to underline this, but this is strike through this text actually. So they will be rapidly lost from the cell. So depending upon this, whether the different plasmids are able to coexist or they are not able to coexist, we have make different incompatibility groups depending upon these observations. Then there is a section in which in this book it is given that what are F plasmids. So F for fertility plasmid, because these F plasmids are having these transfer genes or transgenes, which we have discussed in the above text. So no characteristic beyond the ability to promote the conjugal transfer of the plasmid. So these transfer genes are responsible for conjugal transfer of plasmids. Therefore, the bacteria which are having these F plasmid or fertility plasmids, they will come under this conjugative category. Whereas those bacteria which do not have the F plasmid are said to be non-conjugated. So E. coli is actually having this F plasmid, no problem at all. Resistance plasmid or R plasmid. For example, certain bacteria is having, for example, one we had discussed, RP4. As RP4 is having all the 3 genes for resistance, ampicillin resistance, kanamycin resistance, and what one was? I forgot. This is the question in one of the examinations also. So it is having 3 genes, ampicillin, tetracycline, and kanamycin resistance, ATK. Okay, so this is an example of R plasmid or resistance plasmid. So carrying the genes conferring on the host bacterium resistance to one or the more antibacterial agents. So host bacterium means in which bacteria this particular plasmid is present. So it will provide the antibacterial, it will protect the bacteria against antibacterial agents, for example, chloramphenicol, ampicillin, and for example, it may be possible, not for RP4, but some plasmid will provide resistance for mercury, which is a heavy metal. So it will be toxic to bacterial culture, but if the plasmid is present, R plasmid to mercury, so it will provide the resistance to this heavy toxic metal. So R plasmid are very important in clinical microbiology as they're spread through the natural populations, can have profound consequences in the treatment of bacterial infections. One, why this is RP4, actually this was found, actually it is found generally in Pseudomonas species, but also found in certain other bacteria. So next category is col plasmid for cholcigenic plasmids. So actually they'll code for certain colicins. Now what is colicins? Colicins are certain proteins that kill other bacteria. So they either, you can call that these col plasmids can also be called like killer plasmids, because that will kill the other bacteria which will try to grow in the same culture. An example is given col C1. So because this is present in E. coli, so E. coli will not allow other bacteria to grow because it is having cold C1. Then there are certain degradative plasmids, for example, toll plasmid in bacteria, allow the host bacterium to metabolize certain unusual molecules. For example, toluene and salicyclate or salicylic acid. These are environmental pollutants, so generally they are not degraded so easily. But if the bacteria is having these degradative plasmids, nothing is impossible. So they can degrade these unusual substances also. We have discussed the type plasmid because it is found in Agrobacterium tumefaciens. And the question is generally asked. So you need to know this type plasmid is found in Agrobacterium tumefaciens. It is the genetic engineer of the plants, induce Crohn gall disease only in monocots. Oh, sorry, only in dicots. So it will cause this Crohn gall disease only in dicotyledonous plants, not in monocots. So certain monocots, for example, wheat, okay, rice. So they are not infected by this Agrobacterium tumefaciens. Only those plants which are dicots are infected. So you need to know certain names because this question has been asked in previous years. So the right answer is dicots because only in dicots it will lead to the infection. It will not infect the monocot at all. Okay, one important paragraph also I have found in this book, which you need to know before going into the Pathfinder. So it is given actually at page number 24. So there are certain viruses uh, which is being used as cloning vectors for other organisms. For example, humans, adenovirus, they're used for gene therapy. Baculoviruses, they are used for transferring the genes in insect cells. Polymovirus and Gemini virus, they are generally used in cloning in the plants. So this is one paragraph. So you can remember these names. Adenoviruses are used in gene therapy. Baculoviruses for insect cells. Okay. And these two categories, Polymovirus and Gemini viruses, they are important for cloning in the plants. After this, we will switch to the Pathfinder. So first of all, we will discuss this. If you have any query we have discussed from the text, you can ask here. So before I start, so the discussion we had will help you to understand certain things, certain terms which will come in this. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, so bacterial chromosome. Bacterial chromosome, as we have discussed, the nucleoid region or the bacterial. So the bacterial chromosome or the bacterial genome is actually made up of. I should start it from here. Bacterial genome. Bacterial genome is made up of bacterial chromosome and the plasmid. So first of all, we will discuss bacterial chromosome. Bacterial chromosome is double-stranded molecule, generally circular, but it is not always circular. So in some bacteria, some are exceptions are also there. In certain bacteria, it is found that a linear chromosome or double-stranded molecule is also found. you need to note these names. So in two type of bacteria, for example, in the Vibrio cholerae, okay, so it is given here actually. So the nucleoid region or the bacterial chromosome, you can call it nuclear body, chromatin body, or nuclear region. Bacteria is an irregularly shaped region. So this is a double-stranded DNA. Can be linear or circular, generally circular, but in some cases it is linear also. So for example, in Vibrio cholerae and Borrelia burgdorferi. Now you need to remember the two because both are pathogens in humans. So Vibrio cholerae actually cause cholera in humans, whereas this Borrelia burgdorferi is causative agent of Lyme disease. Okay, so Borrelia burgdorferi is present in limes, and actually when limes make wound or present over humans, so they will cause this Lyme disease. And because so first of all, some bacteria, for example, Vibrio cholerae and Borrelia burgdorferi, may have this linear chromosome. Second thing is, certain bacteria may have more than one chromosome. Okay, so now what are those bacteria which are generally having more than one chromosome? So a bacteria can have up to 11 copies of bacterial chromosome. So first of all, I will go back to there is a table given in your Pathfinder. So here, those bacteria which are having more than one copy of their genome. So Agrobacterium tumefaciens, genetic engineer of plants, also actually having two both linear as well as circular chromosome, bacterial chromosome. So it is having two chromosomes actually. Bacillus subtilis having one circular chromosome. E. coli is also having one circular chromosome. But other bacteria, for example, Rhodobacter sphaeroides having two circular chromosomes. Vibrio cholerae is having two circular chromosomes. Uh, Brucella is having two circular chromosomes, and so on. Here, this Agrobacterium is important because it is having both type of chromosome, one circular, one linear, and their sizes are also given. So you need not remember the sizes, but actually you need to remember that they are having linear and circular chromosomes. Okay. So it is also possible, what is the point of discussion? It is also possible that not always circular. In some cases, it may be present as linear chromosome. And it is also possible that a single bacterial cell may have more than one bacterial chromosome. Now, the second thing is, do they have histones? Because okay, let me ask in this way, do the nucleoid region always have this double-stranded DNA? So obviously no, because nucleoid region, which we have discussed, is actually having two things. One is double-stranded DNA, and it is also having certain proteins which are helping this DNA so that it can be compacted in this particular region that is called nucleoid. Okay. If you lyse this bacterial cell, what will happen? This bacterial DNA will come out and it will spread throughout. So this is a large DNA. So certain proteins are required so that they can be compact. They can compact this double-stranded DNA in this nucleoid region, because bacteria do not having this nuclear membrane. Okay. So it is given, for example, E. coli circular chromosome measure approximately 1400 micrometer, which is about 700 times longer than that of the bacterial cell. And this DNA should be present inside the bacterial cell. Therefore, there are certain proteins which are required. So this compactation is very similar as in eukaryotes, but eukaryotes are having different group of proteins which are having this particular function, which are performing this particular function. For example, we are having histones, but bacteria do not have histones. So the other proteins, what they are what we can call them. So bacteria is having actually HU proteins. So it is given here actually. The protein found in the nucleoid region contribute to the packaging of DNA into the smaller space. In bacterial, protein is called HU. Discovered in 1975 by Janne van Gross. These are two scientists. So they discovered this HU protein, which is what is why they call HU, because these are histone like protein, whatever you call them, histone like or unlike proteins. Okay. So the function is same. They are helping this DNA, double-stranded DNA, to into the packaging so that this is present in a smaller space that is called nucleoid region. In eukaryotes, these histone proteins are forming this nucleosome structure, nucleosome model. You have studied this nucleosomes in eukaryotes actually. And in there are condensins proteins are also present. There are proteins, group of proteins, which are also present in bacteria and also in eukaryotes. So these condensins are helping during the cell division. The chromosomes are further condensed with the help of these condensin proteins. One example, I have discussed this many times, that Planktomycetes is one group of bacteria, complete phylum. Why this is unusual? Because this is having membrane-bound DNA containing regions are present in at least two genera of unusual bacterial phylum Planktomycetes. So actually these are exceptions. They are having this membrane-bound nucleus, but generally bacteria are prokaryotes. Say pro means before, so generally they do not have this nuclear envelope. So because this is general definition for bacteria, so we always refer this only, that bacteria do not have a nuclear membrane, which is delimiting the boundaries of nucleoid region. Okay, again we are coming back. So one thing we have discussed, this HU protein, this histone-like protein, which is heat unstable nucleoid protein. Actually, the term is heat unstable. Sorry. So heat unstable nucleoid protein is present in bacteria, which is having same function, or you can say this is histone-like protein, which is present in bacteria, condensing the double-stranded DNA into small space. There are other proteins are also found, for example, HNS, histone-like nucleoid structuring protein, and IHF, integration host factor, structural maintenance of chromosome, SMC protein, that facilitate the compactation of chromosome. So actually these two proteins, HNS and these SMC, structural maintenance of chromosome, they will help in bending, bridging, and wrapping. So the function is given here. SMC protein, structural maintenance of chromosome protein, for example, is involved in the chromosome segregation. So whenever the bacteria is going to divide, it will help in the segregation of bacterial chromosome. The primary role of HNS, we have discussed this also, histone-like nucleoid structuring protein, is in the condensation of DNA into the nucleoid. So along with HU, this HNS protein is also helping the condensation of the double-stranded DNA in the nucleoid region. HU protein and IHF, which is integration host factors, are protein that are involved in bending the DNA, as opposed to these two, HNS and SMC, so which bind to the already bent DNA. So the two proteins, what are these? HU protein and IHF, they will bend the DNA, and then HNS will further condense this banded DNA. They help in integration, inversion, recombination events by bending the DNA. So HU protein and IHF are going to bend this DNA, and that's why they are going to help in other processes, for example, integration, inversion of DNA, and recombination processes. Then it is given that the bacteria generally lack this limiting membrane, so it is problem with this. Wait a minute. I need to reopen this. Okay. So we had discussed this, that this membrane is not present in the bacteria. Okay, so first thing we have discussed Vibrio cholerae, the causative agent of cholera in humans, actually having two circular chromosomes. Now, what are the function of these two chromosomes? At one chromosome, it will have genes for metabolism and the pathogenesis, virulence. And over the other bacterial chromosome, it will have remaining essential genes of survival, for example, metabolism and all. So actually, it is having two chromosomes, two bacterial chromosomes, which are having different set of genes. One is having metabolism and virulence genes. Second is having essential genes for survival. Okay. So an even more extreme example is provided by Borrelia burgdorferi, which is the causative agent of this Lyme disease. So actually, it is being asked many times in this match the following kind of question. So Borrelia burgdorferi is the causative agent of Lyme disease. And the second important thing about this is it is having up to 11 copies of bacterial chromosome. But there's 11 copies of single linear chromosome. Okay, so why this is linear? Because unlike E. coli, the Borrelia cannot supercoil its linear chromosomes into a tight ball that is called nucleoid within a nucleoid region. Rather, these strands are diffused throughout the cell. So the 11 copies are actually found throughout the cytoplasm of the bacterial cell, Borrelia burgdorferi. DNA molecules of archaea share many similarities with the of eukaryotes. As you know, during evolution, the archaebacteria are diverged much later from the when the prokaryotes have means these bacteria. So eubacteria are different, but the archaebacteria share certain similarities with the eukaryotes. For example, this DNA molecules of archaea having certain similarities with that of eukaryotes. Archaea are only group of prokaryotes that use eukaryote-like histones to condense their DNA molecules. So actually, this archaebacteria are having histone similar proteins which are helping the condensation of their DNA. Second thing is the DNA can be negatively supercoiled, positively supercoiled, or not supercoiled at all. So anything can be possible in case of archaea. And because archaea and bacteria, eubacteria, both are prokaryotes, so archaea is the only group of prokaryotes which are having these histone-like proteins. Okay, otherwise they're either called HU protein, heat unstable protein, HNS, as we have discussed, IHF, integration host factor, SMC, structural maintenance of chromosome. It is also present in eukaryotes, but it is helping the bacterial segregation. Okay, chromosome segregation, not the condensation. Now, important thing is, as we have discussed, bacteria, prokaryotes are having singular circular chromosome, mostly, though there are certain exceptions. So, because they are coming from the single bacterial cell, therefore they are monoploid in nature, whereas if you compare them with eukaryotes, eukaryotes are generally diploid because we are having two copies of each chromosome because one copy are coming from each of our parents. Prokaryotic cells often contain one or more plasmids. Now, plasmids, as we had discussed, these are extra chromosomal DNA molecules which can replicate independently. And actually, they are existing independent of bacterial chromosome. Extra chromosomal plasmids are not commonly present in eukaryotes. Mostly, eukaryotes do not have these type of extra chromosomal plasmids. 1 minute. Okay, so fine. Since prokaryotic DNA does not remain separated from the cytoplasm through nuclear membrane, therefore transcription and translation take place simultaneously. Actually, because bacterial cell is so efficiently divided in within 20 minutes because of certain characteristics which bacterial cells have, because they do not have nucleus. What is the case with eukaryotes? So eukaryotes need to make mRNA, doing transcription inside the nucleus. Then they need to transport this mRNA out of nucleus, and then this mRNA will be further translated into the proteins into the cytoplasm. So this transport will be time consuming actually. But bacteria, because this do not have this nuclear membrane, so therefore they can do both the processes simultaneously. Okay. Other thing is, so this we have discussed in eukaryote, the transcription and translation are separated not only in space but in time also, because transcription is then followed by translation. Yeah, those prokaryotic chromosomes are present in condensed form in the nucleoid, not surrounded by the nuclear membrane, and DNA is not complex with the histone proteins, whereas eukaryotic chromosomes are present in membrane-bound nucleus and they are complex with the histones. Then there is a size differences also. Generally, genomes in prokaryotes are smaller, generally 4.6 mega base pair. What is mega? 10 to the power 6 base pairs. That is 2/5 the size of the budding yeast genome. That is actually the 12 megabase pair. Most prokaryotes contain only one copy of each gene. Gene density is also higher in prokaryotic genome as compared to eukaryotic genome. So you need to remember this: the gene density is higher in prokaryotes, but the size of overall genome is small as compared to eukaryotes, because we are having most of the uncoding regions in DNA, non-coding regions. So these introns are actually making the most of our DNA, but in bacteria are more efficient. Gene density is high because the size of DNA is less. So the number of genes are actually present in high number. Prokaryotic genome contain very small amount of non-coding and repetitive DNA as compared to eukaryotic genome. Most eukaryotic genome are interrupted containing introns. Introns are rarely present in prokaryotic genome. So actually bacteria generally do not have these or rarely found in the case of prokaryotes on bacteria. So we have discussed the certain differences in terms of bacterial genome when we compare them with eukaryotic genome. So there are certain differences not only in the DNA, because this is monoploid and haploid in prokaryotes, but it is diploid and means it is having two sets of genes, each gene in eukaryotes. Also, there are differences in proteins which are helping the condensation of these DNA inside the nucleus, or in case of eukaryotes, and inside the nucleoid region in case of prokaryotes. We have discussed so much about the bacterial plasmid, but not discussed who have discovered these plasmids. So the term is coined by J. Lederberg for the autonomous self-replicating molecules of DNA which are having extra chromosomal. So the main bacterial chromosome is different. They are extra chromosomal materials which are autonomous. They can replicate themselves. So self-replicating molecules of DNA, double-stranded DNA generally, that are maintained as discrete extrachromosomal genetic elements in bacteria are called plasmids. Now, replicon, which is a self-replicating molecule of nucleic acid. So plasmids are mostly DNA molecules. RNA plasmids, single-stranded, double-stranded forms are very rare and only reported in few plants, fungus, and even some animals. So RNA plasmids are also found, but generally bacteria is having DNA plasmids, which are double-stranded DNA in nature. Bacterial plasmids are usually much smaller than the bacterial chromosome, vary from size. So size can vary. They are less than 5 kb and more up to several hundred kilobase pairs. Okay, but it is also reported that plasmids can be very much bigger in size, for example, 2 MB size in some bacteria. Only in some bacteria, not in all. So generally they are double-stranded DNA, and so they usually encode traits that are not essential for bacterial viability and replicate independently of the chromosome. Okay, so the genes which are responsible for the viability or which are essential for survival are generally present or found in bacterial chromosome in the nucleoid region. Plasmids generally do not have the essential genes. It is generally having those genes which will give some type of extra advantage to that particular bacteria. Okay, so for example, resistance to certain antibiotics, or it will help in transfer of genes, for example, fertility F plasmid. So they will give some extra advantage to the bacterial cell, not essential for the bacterial viability or survival. Now, this is important that plasmids, which are mostly circular, negatively supercoiled, double-stranded DNA molecule, but linear plasmid have been also reported in few genera, Borrelia and Streptomyces. But you need to remember that they are negatively supercoiled and generally they are circular, except few, for example, Borrelia and Streptomyces species, which are having linear plasmids also. Now, type of plasmids, as we have discussed, but the genes which are given in this and relaxosome complex, these things and these terms actually we need to discuss. So first of all, the conjugative plasmid is self-transmissible plasmid, and this is also called mobilizable. Conjugative plasmid is kind of plasmid which is having this F plasmid, is helping the bacteria to transfer genes from one bacteria into the another, possesses all the necessary genes to transmit itself to one bacterium into the another by conjugation. Because it contains certain genes, for example, MPF for mating pair formation. So this will help in the formation of the mating tube or the pilus between the two bacteria. So MPF genes and DTR genes, DTR for DNA transfer, or you can call them TRA genes, and replication. DNA transfer and replication genes. MPF genes means mating pair formation genes encode proteins responsible for pilus mediated cell-to-cell contact and formation of type 4 secretion system, type 4 for T4SS, which act as a channel through which the proteins or the protein DNA complex can be translocated from one bacteria into the another bacterial cell. While the second type of genes, which are responsible for encoding DNA transfer and replication proteins, encode protein that bind to the DNA at the origin of transfer. Sorry, there are two origins. One is called origin of replication, or IT, and there is another that is called ORIT, means origin of transfer in the bacterial genome or the bacterial plasmid. So forming a complex called relaxosome. So this relaxosome complex is the complex which is being formed when these DTR genes, which are encoding the proteins for DNA transfer and replication, because before transferring the plasmid or the DNA from one bacterial cell into the another, bacteria also need to replicate this particular genome, right? So when these DTR genes encode proteins and these proteins bind to the DNA at the site of transfer, that is RIT, this complex is called the relaxosome complex. The key catalytic components of the relaxosome is the relaxase enzyme, produces a nick within RIT and becomes transiently attached to the 5' end of the DNA single strand. Then the single strand, will be transferred from one bacterial cell into another, along with these attached proteins, or that is called relaxase. So relaxase is a kind of enzyme which will cut the or produce a nick within the double-stranded DNA. At RIT specifically, it will recognize the sequence which is present at RIT and then transiently attach to the 5' end of the DNA single strand and helping the strand to move. So mobilizable plasmid possesses a functional RIT and DTR genes which are responsible for transfer and replication, carries the genes necessary for relaxosome formation and DNA transfer, but lack the genes which are required for mating pair formation. So this mating pair formation genes are actually MPF genes, which are not present here. So mobilizable plasmids are not able to promote their own transfer unless an appropriate conjugation system is provided by a conjugative plasmid. So one thing is mobilizable plasmids. So they will make this relaxosome complex, but the other genes which are required, they are not present in these mobilizable plasmids. They require another set of genes that are called mating pair formation genes, means the genes which will make the pilus or the conjugation tube only if the some other plasmid is present within the bacteria which will encode for these MPF genes. Then these mobilizable plasmids will help with the help of DTR genes and other this relaxosome formation in the transfer of DNA from one bacterial cell into the another bacterial cell. Mobilizable plasmids are not able to promote their own transfer unless an appropriate conjugation system is provided by a conjugative plasmid. So there are two things. One is conjugative plasmid, one is mobilizable plasmid. Plasmids are called non-mobilizable if they are neither conjugative nor mobilizable. Most of the naturally occurring plasmids are either conjugative or mobilizable. So generally in nature, the plasmids are either conjugative or mobilizable. So you can get this term that you can note this out. Both are different, means either they are conjugative or mobilizable. A bacterial cell which is able to transfer the genes from one bacteria to another, so they actually having both sets of these plasmids, mobilizable plasmids and conjugative plasmids. So are able to transfer their genes from one bacteria. For example, here this is shown that this is HFR strain. So we have discussed episomes, and now we will discuss HFR. Also, we will discuss F positive and F negative bacteria. So what are these actually, how they are classified? So there is a very basic theme behind this classification. Depending upon F plasmid, this F plasmid is an example of self-transmissible plasmid. So it is able to transfer itself from one bacterial cell into the another, as I showed you one diagram. So in which this F plasmid is being able to transfer itself. So this is shown over page number 16 in this book here. Okay, so this is page number 16. Here this is having this F plasmid or conjugative plasmid. So it is able to make this tube and it is able to replicate and then transfer one strand so that it will also become, then this will be replicated, will become double stranded, and both the cells will be plus type of or the donor in nature. So they are self-transmissible plasmids. Bacteria that possess a copy of F plasmid are called F positive, as shown here. So if this is having this F factor, they're said to be F positive, or if they do not having this F plasmid, they are said to be F negative. Fine. Now suppose this F plasmid will be integrated into the bacterial chromosome as the case what is happening in the case of episome. This plasmid will be integrated into this and this then called episome, which can be received by the daughter cells after division of this particular bacterial cell. So this HFR is a kind of episome. Why this is called HFR? Why not episome? Because episome can be formed by any kind of plasmid. Suppose this is F plasmid, then it is called HFR. If it is some other plasmid, for example, R plasmid, col plasmid, toll plasmid, or some degradative plasmid, if it is integrated inside the bacterial chromosome, then this is called episome. So you can say HFR. Why this is HFR? HFR is a short form of high frequency recombination cell. Why this is high frequency recombination? Because this F plasmid is self-transmissible in nature. It is having all the genes which are required for making the pilus or the tube so that the genes can be transferred between the two bacterial cells. Now, if this plasmid is being integrated into the bacterial chromosome, now also the bacteria will have all these genes, but now because this is being integrated into the bacterial chromosome, so suppose this F plasmid is having one ORI T for transfer, any origin of transfer. So relaxase will come and cleave this double-stranded DNA over the ORI T and will bind to, let me annotate this if you are not able to understand. So suppose this is relaxase enzyme, which will come and cleave this double-stranded DNA and will bind to the 5' end of this chromosome. Now, this will help the complete chromosome to transfer from one bacterial cell into the another. Therefore, they are called high-frequency recombination cells, because once the F plasmid is being integrated into the bacterial chromosome, the whole chromosome can be transferred from one bacterial cell into the another bacterial cell through formation of conjugation tube, not by division. So episome can only transfer by division, but this HFR can make the conjugation tube and help in the transfer of DNA, complete chromosomal DNA from one bacterial cell into the another. So bacteria that have this copy of F plasmid are called F positive, F plus cells, denoted like this F positive, that do not have this are denoted like F negative. So F plasmid is also an episome plasmid that can exist autonomously in a cell or can integrate itself into the bacterial chromosome is termed as episome. So episome is actually, if it is present autonomously or sometimes present with integrated into the bacterial chromosome, then it is episome. So F plasmid is also called episome because sometimes it is found like F factor, sometimes it is found like integrated into the bacterial chromosome. So if a plasmid, can exist autonomously in a cell, or this is called episome, a bacterial cell that contain an F plasmid integrated with the bacterial chromosome is referred to as high frequency recombination cell, as shown here. Integration involves the homologous recombination. So by homologous recombination, this is actually integrated into the bacterial chromosome between the two covalently closed circular DNA molecules, one circular molecule, big circular molecule by integration is being formed, and both the original DNA structures are present within the same circle. So it is thought that IS elements which are present in the F plasmid and those in the host chromosome serve as the reasons of homology for their insertional event. So there are some IS elements which help in the integration, and finally this HFR cell will. So the cell, bacterial cell, which is having integrated F plasmid is called actually HFR. Okay. I hope we should stop here. So Are you able to understand this? If not, please ask me so that I can explain it again. Actually, we have discussed many things which are given here, like resistance, fertility killer plasmid, degradated plasmid, and virulence plasmids. We have discussed them, so you can read this text. If you find a problem, you can ask me. You can WhatsApp me if you find any problem. Okay. So that's all for today.